I'll just say one thing. Get ready for what's coming, because South Carolina is far more surprising and far stranger than you could ever imagine. And by the final fact, you'll understand exactly what I mean. Number 35. The earthquake that rang bells 1,000 miles away. On August 31st, 1886, Charleston, South Carolina was struck by one of the most powerful earthquakes ever recorded in the eastern United States. Estimated at magnitude 7.0 or higher, this quake was so violent it caused church bells to ring in Boston, over 1,000 miles away. The ground liquefied in a process called liquefaction, where sandy soil turned into a liquid slurry and erupted from the ground in sand boils. Railroad tracks twisted into S-curves and buildings crumbled across the city. Over 60 people died, and nearly every structure in Charleston was damaged. The earthquake proved that the passive margin of the East Coast wasn't as geologically quiet as everyone thought. Charleston is essentially built on a bowl of unstable sediment, and in 1886, someone shook that bowl violently. Number 34. Blackbeard's flagship rests off the coast. The waters off South Carolina are home to the wreckage of the Queen Anne's Revenge, the flagship of the infamous pirate Blackbeard. This wasn't just any pirate ship, it was a 300-ton French slave vessel that Blackbeard captured and armed with 40 cannons, turning it into one of the most feared vessels on the Atlantic. The ship ran aground near Beaufort in 1718, and archaeologists have recovered thousands of artifacts from the wreck, including cannons, navigation equipment, and medical instruments. Standing on the Carolina coast, you're looking out over waters that once belonged to pirates. The graveyard of the Atlantic earned its name from hundreds of shipwrecks littering the seafloor, and Blackbeard's flagship is the most famous among them. Number 33. The only tea plantation in North America. The Charleston Tea Garden on Wadmalaw Island is the only commercial tea plantation in North America. The geography here is unique. Wadmalaw Island has the perfect subtropical humidity and sandy soil that Camellia sinensis, the tea plant, loves. It's similar to parts of China or India. The plantation started as a Lipton research facility decades ago before becoming a private garden. I've taken the trolley tour through acres of tea hedges, and it's lush, green, and smells incredibly fresh. They harvest the top leaves with a specialized machine that looks like a cotton picker crossed with a lawnmower. It's a little slice of the British Empire right in the Low Country, producing the only American-grown tea you can buy commercially. Number 32. South Carolina produces more peaches than Georgia. I know Georgia's license plates say the Peach State, but South Carolina actually produces more peaches than Georgia in a typical year, sometimes more than double the volume. The geography of the ridge region in South Carolina creates a microclimate perfect for stone fruit, with well-drained soil and just enough chill hours. We're talking over 90,000 tons of peaches annually compared to Georgia's 40,000. The sandy hills and specific climate conditions make South Carolina peaches sweeter and juicier. If you're buying a basket of fresh peaches on the East Coast in July, there's a very high statistical probability they were grown in the sandhills of South Carolina, not Georgia. The tastier peach state is a nickname they're trying to make stick, and geologically, they've got the receipts to prove it. Number 31. The angel oak is over 400 years old. On John's Island, you'll find a living organism that defies logic, the angel oak. It's a southern live oak estimated to be anywhere from 400 to 500 years old, though some locals swear it's over a millennium. The tree produces shade that covers 17,000 square feet, and its longest branch is 187 feet long, longer than the Leaning Tower of Pisa is tall. The massive limbs are so heavy they rest on the ground and then curve back up toward the sky. It has survived countless hurricanes, floods, and earthquakes that flattened everything around it. Standing under it, you realize that in terms of biological geography, this tree is the landscape. It's not just a tree, it's an ecosystem unto itself, a living monument that was here before the United States existed. Number 30. The state has more golf courses per capita than anywhere. South Carolina has more golf courses per capita than any other state in the nation. Myrtle Beach alone has over 100 golf courses, earning it the title Golf Capital of the World. The climate allows for year-round play, and the coastal geography provides stunning ocean views from the fairways. The industry generates billions in tourism revenue annually, Drive along the Grand Strand and you'll see golf course after golf course stretching along the coast. It's not just recreation, it's a massive economic engine that transformed the state's coastal geography into a golfer's paradise. The combination of mild winters, coastal breezes, and sandy soil created perfect conditions for the sport to dominate the landscape. Number 29. Lake Marion hides an underwater ghost forest. Lake Marion isn't your typical lake. Created in the 1940s as part of the Santee Cooper hydroelectric project, the dam was finished just as World War II broke out. The frantic need for power meant they didn't have time to clear the trees from the valley before flooding it. The result? A massive underwater forest. Thousands of cypress and pine trees were submerged, and because cypress wood is rot-resistant, they're still down there. If you boat across Lake Marion, you have to stay in marked channels or you'll tear the hull off your boat on ghost trees lurking just inches below the surface. It creates a spooky, prehistoric landscape where dead gray trunks rise out of the mist. It's one of the best and most dangerous fishing spots in the country. Number 28. The oldest European settlement wasn't Jamestown. Everyone learns about Jamestown, 1607, and Plymouth, 1620. But the Spanish capital of Santa Elena on Paris Island was thriving in 1566, decades before the English arrived. This was the capital of La Florida, which stretched from the Keys to Newfoundland. It had a governor, forts, and a town plan. But the geography was harsh. Poor soil and hostile relations with local Native American tribes forced the Spanish to abandon it and retreat to St. Augustine. For centuries, its location was lost, buried under the Paris Island Marine Corps golf course. Archaeologists only rediscovered it recently. It rewrites the geographical history of the U.S. The first major European capital wasn't in Virginia or Massachusetts. It was on a golf course in South Carolina. Number 27. The Gullah Geechee Corridor preserves African heritage. St. Helena Island is the geographical heart of the Gullah Geechee Corridor. Because of its isolation on the coast, historically reachable only by boat until bridges were built in the 20th century, the enslaved West Africans brought here to work rice and cotton plantations were able to retain their African culture, language, and cooking methods far more than African Americans on the mainland. This isolation created a unique cultural geography. The Penn Center on the island was the first school for freed slaves in the South. To this day, the land ownership patterns and heirs property laws on St. Helena reflect a communal way of living, distinct to the Gullah people. It's a place where the geography of the islands directly protected and preserved a unique heritage that would have been lost elsewhere. Number 26. The Carolina Bays are an unsolved mystery. Scattered across the coastal plain of South Carolina are thousands of elliptical depressions called Carolina Bays. They're all oriented in the exact same northwest-southeast direction. If you look at them on a satellite map, it looks like a shotgun blast hit the east coast. For decades, people thought they were caused by a meteor shower or a comet exploding over the ice sheet during the last ice age. While modern science leans toward wind and water shaping them over millennia, nobody knows for 100% certain. Some are dry, some are lakes, and some are swamps. But they all share that eerie, perfect oval shape and specific alignment. Standing in one, you feel like you're standing in a crater from another world. It's one of geology's great unsolved mysteries, and South Carolina has thousands of them. Number 25. Congaree has the tallest trees in the east. Deep in the center of the state lies Congaree National Park, and it's a time capsule. This place preserves the largest intact expanse of old-growth bottomland hardwood forest remaining in the southeastern United States. While the rest of the South was being logged in the 19th and 20th centuries, this floodplain was just too difficult to access. As a result, the trees here are giants, champion trees with one of the highest concentrations of the tallest trees of their species in the world. I've walked the boardwalk there, and the loblolly pines look like redwood cousins. It's a flood basin, so the nutrient-rich waters of the Congaree and Wateree rivers rejuvenate the soil constantly, allowing these ancient trees to reach heights of nearly 170 feet. It's like walking into a cathedral built by nature. Number 24. The Edisto River flows free for 250 miles. The Edisto River is a marvel of hydrology. It's the longest free-flowing blackwater river in North America, stretching over 250 miles without a single dam to stop it. Black water doesn't mean it's dirty. It means the water is tea-colored, stained dark by tannins from decaying vegetation in the surrounding swamps. It's basically a giant flowing cup of herbal tea. Because it's free-flowing, the water levels fluctuate naturally with the seasons, creating a dynamic ecosystem that changes constantly. I've kayaked down it, and the silence is profound. You float past ancient cypress knees and white sandbars that appear and disappear with the rains. It completely traverses the state from the sandhills to the ocean, serving as a massive artery for wildlife you won't see anywhere else. Before continuing, be sure to subscribe and leave a like to keep discovering strange and incredible facts about every US state. Number 23. They accidentally dropped a nuclear bomb here. On March 11, 1958, a B-47 bomber was flying over South Carolina when a fault in the locking mechanism caused it to accidentally drop a Mark VI nuclear bomb. It fell right onto the community of Mars Bluff near Florence. Thankfully, the fissile nuclear core, the part that makes the mushroom cloud, wasn't installed. But the bomb still had thousands of pounds of conventional high explosives. It hit the ground and detonated, creating a massive crater 75 feet wide and 35 feet deep. It destroyed a house and injured the family inside, but miraculously, no one died. You can still visit the crater today. It's a chilling geographical scar, a literal hole in the ground where the Cold War almost got very, very hot in a quiet South Carolina neighborhood. Number 22. The Venus flytrap grows nowhere else. The Venus flytrap is native to only one tiny region on the entire planet. A 75-mile radius around Wilmington, North Carolina, that extends into Horry and Georgetown counties in South Carolina. While North Carolina gets the fame, South Carolina is the only other place in the world where these plants grow wild in their native habitat. They thrive in the nitrogen-poor sandy soils of the Carolina bays and pine savannas. It's an incredibly specific biogeographical niche. If you move them even 50 miles inland, they won't survive naturally. Seeing one in the wild in the Lewis Ocean Bay Heritage Preserve is like spotting a dinosaur. It's a remnant of a very specific, fragile prehistoric ecosystem that exists nowhere else on Earth. Number 21. Purple martins create a hurricane on radar. In the middle of Lake Murray, there's a small island called Bomb Island, named because it was used as a practice bombing range for B-25 crews during World War II. But today, it hosts a biological phenomenon that shows up on weather radar. Every summer, it becomes the largest roosting sanctuary for purple martins in North America. We're talking about nearly 1 million birds converging on this single island every evening. When they take flight in the morning to feed, the cloud of birds is so massive it looks like a hurricane on Doppler radar. It's a spectacle of animal migration that completely transforms the local airspace for a few months every year. The geography of the island, isolated, protected, and covered in specific vegetation, makes it the perfect safe haven. Number 20. The Ace Basin is one of the largest undeveloped estuaries. The Ace Basin, standing for the Ashepoo, Combahee, and Edisto rivers, is one of the great conservation success stories of the world. This region forms a massive estuary where 3 rivers meet the sea, covering 350,000 acres of undeveloped wetlands. If you look at it from a satellite, it looks like the veins of a leaf or a human lung. It represents one of the largest undeveloped estuaries on the Atlantic coast. The geography here is a mix of fresh and saltwater marshes, maritime forests, and barrier islands. Because it's been protected from the resort development that consumed places like Hilton Head, it looks exactly as it did 200 years ago. It functions as a massive nursery for marine life, and the lack of light pollution makes it one of the darkest places on the coast for stargazing. Number 19. The lighthouse that's now in the ocean. Morris Island Lighthouse is a tragic lesson in coastal geology and erosion. When it was built in 1876, it stood roughly 1,200 feet inland, surrounded by dunes and marsh. Today, it stands nearly 2,000 feet offshore, completely surrounded by water. The construction of jetties at the entrance to Charleston Harbor altered the longshore drift, the movement of sand along the coast, causing massive erosion on Morris Island. The ocean literally ate the island out from under the lighthouse. It's a surreal sight to stand on Folly Beach and see a tall, lonely tower rising directly out of the waves. It's still standing, barely, a testament to 19th century brickwork, fighting a losing battle against the relentless geography of the shifting Atlantic sands. Number 18. BMW's largest factory is in South Carolina. When BMW decided to build its first full manufacturing facility outside of Germany, they chose Greer, South Carolina. This wasn't random. The geological layout of the land, the proximity to the deep-water port of Charleston via rail, and the stable bedrock for heavy machinery made it perfect. Today, Plant Spartanburg is the largest BMW plant in the world by volume, bigger than the ones in Munich. This single decision altered the human geography of the region. You'll find German schools, German festivals, and a distinct Euro-South culture that doesn't exist anywhere else in the region. The landscape here is now defined by test tracks and logistics centers, turning the red clay hills into a global automotive hub. Number 17. Caesar's Head creates a dramatic weather divide. In the northwest corner of the state, Caesar's Head is a massive granite dome that marks the abrupt end of the Blue Ridge Escarpment. The face rises vertically, creating the edge of the continent's Appalachian spine. The geography here creates a drastic weather divide. Storms often get stuck on the wall, dumping massive amounts of rain on the gorge's region, making it a temperate rainforest. The transition from the flatlands to the vertical rock face happens in the span of just a few miles, creating one of the most dramatic elevation changes in the southeast. Standing at the overlook, you can see Table Rock and other peaks stretching into North Carolina. The sheer drop and the way clouds roll through the gorges below is breathtaking. Number 16. The Savannah River site is bigger than Singapore. There's a massive chunk of South Carolina you're forbidden to enter. The Savannah River site covers about 310 square miles, bigger than Singapore. In the 1950s, the US government seized this land to produce materials for hydrogen bombs, tritium and plutonium-239. They chose this spot because of the abundant water from the Savannah River and the isolated, stable terrain. Whole towns like Ellenton were bulldozed and vanished from the map to create this exclusion zone. Today, it remains one of the most secured and monitored geographical sites in the nation. While the reactors are shut down, the site is a strange nature preserve by accident. Because no humans have lived there for 70 years, the deer, boar, and alligator populations have exploded inside the nuclear fences. Number 15. Table Rock rises like a wall from the plains. Table Rock State Park is where the Blue Ridge Mountains don't just roll in, they erupt. The face of Table Rock is a massive granite dome that rises vertically, marking the abrupt end of the Blue Ridge Escarpment. The Cherokee called the Blue Ridge the Great Blue Wall, and nowhere is this more apparent than here. As you approach from the flat Piedmont, the mountains appear suddenly, dramatically, like a fortress wall. The geography creates a drastic weather divide with storms dumping massive amounts of rain on the mountain slopes. The transition from flatlands to vertical rock face happens in just a few miles, creating one of the most dramatic elevation changes in the southeast. Number 14. The last capital of the Confederacy met here. When Richmond fell in April 1865, the Confederate government fled south. For a brief period, the last official meeting of the Confederate cabinet took place in Abbeville, South Carolina, making it effectively the last capital of the Confederacy. President Jefferson Davis met with his advisors in the Burt Stark Mansion, where he was told the war was over. The geography of Abbeville, tucked away in the upstate far from coastal invasion routes, made it a final refuge. Today, you can visit the mansion and stand in the room where the Confederacy officially died. It's a geographical footnote that most history books miss, but Abbeville holds the distinction of being where the Civil War's Confederate government took its final breath. Number 13. God legally owns a piece of South Carolina. In the small town of Blackville, there's a natural spring that's been a local legend since the Revolutionary War. Wounded British soldiers were said to have been healed by its waters, thanks to the mineral content. But the geographical secret here isn't the water, it's the deed. In 1944, the land's owner, L.P. Boylston, was getting too old to manage it. Instead of selling it to a developer or the state, he went to the courthouse and legally deeded the land to Almighty God. And yes, the deed was accepted. To this day, God's Acre Healing Springs is the only piece of property in South Carolina, and possibly the U.S., legally owned by the Creator. The local government maintains it as a caretaker, but technically it has no human landlord. You can fill up your jugs for free, drinking from the only tap that bills directly to heaven. Number 12. Winnsboro Granite built New York City. Winnsboro, a small town in Fairfield County, sits on top of a massive pluton of granite that changed the look of America. This isn't just any rock, it's Winnsboro blue granite. Once so prized for its flawless texture and durability, it was nicknamed the Silk of the Trade. This specific vein of stone is unique to the South Carolina Piedmont. It was used to build the Flatiron Building in New York City, the old post office in Charleston, and monuments across Washington, D.C. Although the quarries are mostly quiet now, the geology of this one small town provided the literal foundation for some of the most famous architecture in the United States. If you see a blue-gray monument in a historic city, there's a good chance it came from a hole in the ground in Winnsboro. Number 11. The Poinsett Bridge looks medieval. Deep in the mountains of Greenville County stands the Poinsett Bridge, built in 1820. It's the oldest surviving bridge in South Carolina, but what makes it geologically and architecturally fascinating is that it looks like it belongs in medieval Europe, not the Appalachians. It features a 14-foot Gothic arch built with unmortared stone. It was designed by Robert Mills, who designed the Washington Monument, and named after Joel Poinsett, who introduced the poinsettia to the U.S. The road it served, the Old State Road, was once the main artery through the mountains, but modern highways bypassed it ages ago. Now it sits alone in the woods, a moss-covered Gothic relic spanning a small creek, looking like a portal to Narnia rather than a piece of American infrastructure. Number 10. The Saluda River runs ice-cold through Columbia. Columbia is famously hot. Famously hot is literally the slogan. But the Saluda River, which flows right through the city, is freezing cold. The water released into the lower Saluda comes from the very bottom of Lake Murray, where the water is deep and cold, around 50 to 60 degrees year-round. This artificial geography has created a put-and-take trout fishery in the middle of a subtropical city. You can catch rainbow and brown trout in downtown Columbia in July while the air temperature is 100 degrees. It's likely the only place in the Deep South where you need waders to keep from getting hypothermia in the summer. The cold water creates a bizarre microclimate where northern fish species thrive in the heart of the South. Number 9. Boneyard Beach is a forest graveyard. Bulls Island, part of the Cape Romaine National Wildlife Refuge, has a beach that looks like the aftermath of an apocalypse. It's called Boneyard Beach. The geography of the barrier island is constantly shifting. The ocean is eroding the north end of the island at a rapid rate. As saltwater encroaches on the maritime forest, it kills the oak and cedar trees. The sun and salt bleach the dead trunks white, leaving a skeleton forest standing in the surf. It's hauntingly beautiful. Unlike a normal beach with dunes, here you're walking through a graveyard of massive trees fighting a losing war against the Atlantic. It's a stark visual lesson in how dynamic and destructive the coastal geography actually is. The trees stand like monuments to the power of erosion. Number 8. The 1886 earthquake caused sand volcanoes. The Charleston earthquake of 1886 was the most damaging earthquake to hit the eastern United States in recorded history, estimated at magnitude 7.0 or higher. But the geographical evidence is what's wild. The quake was so powerful it caused liquefaction. The sandy soil turned into a liquid slurry and erupted out of the ground in sand blows or sand boils. You can still find traces of these ancient sand volcanoes in the geological record of the Lowcountry. It deformed railroad tracks into S-curves and rang church bells in Boston over 1,000 miles away. It proved that the passive margin of the East Coast wasn't as geologically quiet as everyone thought. Charleston is basically built on a bowl of jelly, and in 1886, someone shook that bowl violently. Number 7. Rice fields created a hydraulic machine. If you look at aerial maps of the Combahee or Ashepoo rivers, you'll see a geometric grid pattern that looks like a giant circuit board stamped onto the marshes. These are the remnants of the Carolina gold rice fields. In the 18th and 19th centuries, enslaved laborers moved millions of tons of earth to create a massive hydraulic machine. They used rice trunks, wooden sluice gates, to harness the tidal geography. They'd let fresh water in when the tide rose, pushing the salt water back and drain it when the tide fell. It completely terraformed the coast. Today, these fields are protected wetlands for waterfowl, but they remain a geographical scar of an agricultural empire built on human suffering and engineering genius. Number 6. The H.L. Hunley was preserved in mud. For over a century, the location of the H.L. Hunley, the first submarine in history to sink an enemy ship, was a mystery. It vanished in 1864 after sinking the USS Housatonic off Charleston Harbor. In 1995, it was found buried in silt about 4 miles off Sullivan's Island. The geography of the burial is key. The specific sediment conditions created an anoxic, oxygen-free environment that preserved the submarine perfectly, including the remains of the crew and a gold coin carried by the captain. When they raised it in 2000, it was like lifting a ghost ship. It now sits in a conservation tank in North Charleston, still revealing secrets. It's a piece of Iron Age geography that sat silently waiting in the mud while the world changed above it. Number 5. Hilton Head was a Union stronghold. During the Civil War, Hilton Head Island became one of the largest Union military bases in the South after the Battle of Port Royal in 1861. The geography of the deep natural harbor made it strategically invaluable for the Union Navy's blockade of Confederate ports. At its peak, over 40,000 Union troops were stationed on the island. The occupation also led to one of the first major experiments in Reconstruction. Thousands of formerly enslaved people settled on the island and began farming land abandoned by plantation owners. The Port Royal experiment tested whether freed slaves could successfully run their own farms and communities. The geography of the island, isolated, defensible, with a deep harbor, made it the perfect location for this radical social experiment during the war. Number 4. Sassafras Mountain offers 4 state views. Sassafras Mountain sits right on the border with North Carolina and reaches an elevation of 3,560 feet, making it the highest point in South Carolina. It's part of the Blue Ridge Escarpment, and recently they built an observation tower at the summit. The geographical positioning is spectacular. On a clear day, you can see 4 different states: South Carolina, North Carolina, Georgia, and Tennessee. The hike-up changes biomes entirely, moving from hardwood forest to a rocky, windy summit that feels more like New England than the South. It's the highest point in the state and a reminder that South Carolina isn't just one big beach. The northwest corner is genuine mountain country. Number 3. The UFO Welcome Center sits in a field. You can't make this up. In Bowman, South Carolina, just off a dusty road, sits the UFO Welcome Center. It's a 46-foot-wide flying saucer built out of wood, fiberglass, and scrap metal by a local man named Jody Pendarvis. He built it in his backyard to give aliens a place to crash, literally and figuratively, when they arrive. It has a shower, a TV, and air conditioning for extraterrestrial guests. While it looks like a pile of junk to some, it's become a piece of genuine folk art geography. It represents the eccentric spirit of the rural South better than any museum could. It recently suffered fire damage, but the structure and the optimism remain. It's a monument to one man's belief that we're not alone, sitting in the middle of South Carolina farmland. Number 2. Myrtle Beach is the mini golf capital. Myrtle Beach isn't just known for regular golf, it's the miniature golf capital of the world. The Grand Strand has over 50 miniature golf courses, more than any other place on the planet. The geography of the coast, flat, sandy, tourist-friendly, combined with year-round mild weather created the perfect conditions for mini golf to explode as an industry. You can play courses with pirate themes, dinosaur themes, jungle themes, courses with live alligators and the water hazards. It's kitsch elevated to an art form. The mini golf industry generates tens of millions in revenue annually, and it's become as much a part of the Myrtle Beach identity as the ocean itself. Number 1. South Carolina was the first to secede. On December 20th, 1860, South Carolina became the first state to secede from the Union, setting off a chain reaction that led to the Civil War. The Secession Convention met in Charleston, and the geography of the city, a wealthy port built on the wealth of slavery and cotton, made it the natural location for this momentous decision. South Carolina's economy was more dependent on slavery than any other state, and the election of Abraham Lincoln terrified plantation owners who saw their entire way of life under threat. The first shots of the Civil War were fired at Fort Sumter in Charleston Harbor just months later. South Carolina's decision to leave the Union first fundamentally shaped American history, and the geographical, economic, and social conditions of the state made that decision almost inevitable. It's a legacy that still echoes through the state's identity today. Now that you know these 35 facts about South Carolina, tell us which one surprised you the most. Drop it in the comments and let's see how many of us picked the same one. And if you've got your own South Carolina fact to share, We'd love to hear it. Your comments help us make every video better. And don't forget to subscribe and give it a like so we can keep exploring the hidden stories of every state together. See you in the next one.